The Nintendo 64 was host to many fantastic racing games. From karts, to snowboards, to jet skis, racing fans were sure to be well serviced by the console. One of the best races to grace the system, and one of my favourite games of all time, was F-Zero X. Developed by Nintendo EAD and released in 1998, it pushed the hardware and delivered an extremely smooth, exhilarating experience. It wasn't just a spectacular racer, but also a really interesting technical showcase. The first thing that hits you is the speed which the game maintains. When you come from other popular racing games on the 64 like Mario Kart and Diddy Kong Racing, the sheer momentum with which you are hurled around the tracks in F-Zero X seems almost overwhelming. The key to this is the stunning 60 frames per second frame rate that the game maintains. For a console whose best games are often plagued by low frame rates and choppy graphics, this game feels like it was plucked from an alternate reality. The consistently high frame rate ensures that the game always feels responsive, despite the ridiculously fast clip that the game moves at. The major trade-off for all those extra frames was the detail in the background. Critics at the time observed that the game wasn't as detailed as many of its competitors, especially when it came to the various backgrounds of the tracks. The compromise worked, as F-Zero X still feels fun to play to this day, whilst many of the other games from that era feel almost unplayable due to low and inconsistent frame rates. Another unique part of the game is the number of races that you compete against. This adds a layer of pleasurable chaos to the game, especially at the very start of each race when you can see whole groups of computer-controlled players jockeying for position right in front of your eyes. When you manage to thread the needle and find your way to the front of the pack, it's one hell of a satisfying feeling. Equally, it can be quite stressful when you find yourself in the middle of the pack during the race, particularly if you're low on health. The soundtrack is excellent, featuring a healthy mix of original tunes as well as remixes of songs from the Super Nintendo games. Audio was one of the Nintendo 64's weak points, so it was always great to turn on the system and hear some crystal clear guitars wailing out of the TV speakers. The screaming engines and crunching sound effects are also very effective. The enthusiastic announcer deserves special mention for sounding like something out of a fighting game. One last bonus is that the track design is superb. Levels feature creative use of space that force players to have to deal with changing conditions amidst the huge pack of racers. Sometimes a wide open road will suddenly feed into a bottleneck, causing a crush of racers trying to deal with the sudden lack of room to maneuver. Others feature pipes that allow racers to temporarily drive along the walls and the roof, before crashing back down to earth when the track evens out again. Some feature gut-wrenching drops through the free air, with less fortunate racers missing the other side of the jump and being retired permanently. Finally, there are tracks like Big Blue, which combine track design, visual aesthetic, and incredible music to give the stage life. The best racing games always feature tracks like these, the tracks that you remember instantly whenever someone mentions the game. The 3-7 Speedway in Daytona, USA, Wario Stadium in Mario Kart 64, Valparaiso in Wipeout 2097. F-Zero features tracks that fit right in with these legends. Weirdly enough, the game actually received an expansion via the 64 disk drive. Whilst the vanilla version of the game featured a random track generator in the X Cup, this expansion actually allowed players to create and save their own tracks, even adding multiple ghosts to each track for time trials. You could even create custom cups using these tracks. All of this, plus a custom vehicle editor, additional built-in tracks, and a higher quality version of the soundtrack, make this one of the most interesting pieces of software on that system. Unfortunately, the failure of the 64DD meant that this expansion kit was only ever released in Japan. You may never get the chance to play with the 64DD expansion, but do yourself a favour and find a copy of the vanilla 64 version. Unlike much of the library from that generation of gaming, this one still holds up today as a fast, buttery smooth experience that is every bit as fun now as it was when it was released. Just don't look down.